A major storm could threaten search and rescue efforts at the site of the collapsed condo in Surfside, Florida. Elsa is now officially a hurricane and could impact parts of the state next week. This comes after rescue crews resumed work last night following a 15-hour pause due to safety concerns. The death toll stands at 18. Meanwhile, more than 140 people remain unaccounted for. Yesterday, President Biden and the First Lady met with first responders, survivors, and family members of those still missing. Omar Villafranca is on the ground there with the latest.
We will continue to search feverishly, as we have done all along, in the parts of the collapse that we currently have access to.
Search and rescue efforts resumed Thursday afternoon after a 15-hour standstill over safety concerns that the rest of the building could come down. Officials in Miami-Dade County said they are planning for a likely demolition of the remaining building.
This is a decision that we need to make extremely carefully and methodically.
Alan Kilsheimer is a structural engineer.
No one really knows in detail exactly what the condition of the remaining building is. We also have a storm coming, so we're looking at the storm and what it does to the building.
Could this storm knock the remaining parts of the building down?
Everything's possible.
Earlier Thursday, President Biden and the First Lady paid their respects at a growing memorial after meeting with first responders.
The whole nation is mourning with these families. They see it every day on television. They're going through hell.
Moments earlier, Mr. Biden privately met with survivors and victims' families for nearly 3 hours.
The president came out and he spoke a few things. It was like, I'm here for you. Hang in there.
Including Steve Rosenthal, who had lived in the condo for 20 years before it collapsed.
But we lost everything. And when he was finished, he literally went to every table, talked to every person, and as long as you were talking, he was listening. It was amazing. It really was.
FEMA says it could be weeks before this building here behind me is demolished. President Biden has ordered a federal probe into what caused the collapse, and he also pledged that the federal government will pay for the first month of the response here. Tom?
Omar, thank you so much. And for more on the president's visit, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini at the White House. Christina, always good to see you. CBS News, good morning. CBS News received an exclusive briefing from the State Department involved in the Surfside recovery efforts. What did we learn here?
We did. You know, I think a lot of the coverage focuses on what we can see, and that's a lot of the law enforcement and search and rescue personnel on the pile. And that's important because what they're doing is hard and it's brutal emotionally and it's really, really vital. But there's a lot of people working behind the scenes to kind of facilitate this and make this happen. And that includes the State Department. Part of the reason why is because there was such an international presence in that building that when it went down, officials at the State Department started getting calls from consulates and embassies with people from, you know, all over South and Central America, Israel, all these places that had residents they thought were in the building saying, we think we have citizens that have gone missing. So that takes a lot of facilitation. So one of the things the State Department is doing is trying to act as a liaison between these ambassadors and embassies and officials whom they know and they work with on diplomatic issues and folks like the Miami-Dade Search and Rescue, Homicide, SVU. One of the things they said is early on, they really pressed these overseas officials to get them the vitals, you know, the names, the date of birth, the information about their missing citizens so they could transmit that to Miami-Dade, make sure it was in their database, and make sure they were on their list of people they needed to account for. Other things they're doing are things like expediting visas for family members who need to get into the country. You know, it's COVID right now. A lot of consulate services in different countries are delayed or shut down, so they're helping facilitate that. They're even issuing expedited passports for people who either lost their passports in the building or need to get their passport because they can't get back into the part of the building that's been condemned. The other thing they're doing is DNA. You know, if family members can't get into Miami and the police need a DNA sample to try to match remains and try to locate their family members, that's something the State Department is also facilitating. You know, overseas, they'll call the foreign mission. The foreign mission will locate a lab. That person can then go into that lab and it will be securely shipped to the forensics teams in Miami so that they can make this happen. So it's really important to focus on the first responders that we're seeing out there every day, but also the contingents of people who are working quietly diligently and at all hours behind the scenes just to make sure that all these folks can talk to their families can try to locate them through the police and make sure everybody has the information they need to kind of come together in this tragedy and provide support for our foreign partners and diplomats.
Yeah, it really is just incredible work and critical work that the State Department is doing, and like you said, not a lot of people think about that. Now, I want to switch gears here. The president will make remarks on new jobs numbers from last month in just about an hour. How is the White House feeling about the progress of its economic plan?
I mean, look, the jobs numbers this month are better, right? This just came out a little while ago. The economy added 850,000 jobs in June. That's the best jobs report we've seen since August. Unemployment stayed about the same, but it's incremental progressions, and that's what the White House has said over and over again, right? It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a long climb. They technically tend to use a lot of very active, arduous metaphors for this post-COVID economy. But it's good news for the president, and I would expect to have him reflect that in his remarks he's going to make later this morning.
And touching on another topic here, after nearly 20 years, all American forces have left Bagram Air Base, the primary military base used by the U.S. to wage its wars in Afghanistan. Why is that significant, and how does this impact the president's vow to get all of U.S. forces out of Afghanistan by September 11th?
So the closing of Bagram from that aspect is a big deal because it means the U.S. can no longer provide air support from within the country, right? They're going to have to do it from other places in the Gulf or from carriers. The U.S. does not have an airstrip presence in Afghanistan anymore. The other is because the optics of it. Bagram Air Base has been this very central point in not only the U.S. action in Afghanistan, but historically. I mean, it was originally built by the Soviets as an airstrip during the Cold War when there was kind of that proxy fight. Then it was taken over by Taliban and various factions, and then when the U.S. went in in 2001 after 9/11, it made it its kind of central forward operating base for a lot of the activities in Afghanistan over the last 20 years. So stopping action at that base, closing it down essentially, is really saying we're serious about this. We're not kidding. We're not changing our minds. We are pulling out of Afghanistan. Now, the U.S. military has said it's on track to make that September 11th deadline the president wanted. It's actually ahead of schedule. The questions now remain: how many U.S. forces do they need to leave in the country to facilitate the operations the U.S. has to do in Afghanistan? That includes a very large embassy, and there is this effort to get translators, Afghans who have helped the U.S. military, to get them visas, to get them out of the country before their lives become at risk if the Ghani government were to fall in Kabul and the Taliban were to take over. That's going to require staff. That's going to require military. That's going to require assets. So they're probably going to have to stay in the country, even though they could leave before September 11th, up into September 11th, to give those people time to process those visas, organize transports, and get those folks out of the country, because they can't do it if they can't secure the area and do it safely.
Yeah, it really is just an incredible balancing act as we move forward. Christina, on a lighter note, it's 4th of July weekend in Washington. Can we expect a normal Washington celebration, and what is the president doing?
It is feeling vaguely normal here in Washington. I mean, as normal as Washington ever does, right? There's celebrations planned around town. There will be fireworks. The president will be hosting an event for first responders and family members on the lawn to view the fireworks. And, mask rules are down in D.C., and that's something that the president had said that's why he wanted to push the vaccination efforts, as he kept saying, if we pull together, if we get vaccinated, if we conquer this virus, everyone in America can have a relatively normal 4th of July. And it looks like that's coming true. Now, on Saturday, he will be making a stop in Traverse City, Michigan, to kind of push forward and continue that vaccination effort, because the White House is very worried about these pockets of the country where vaccination is low. They don't want to see a spike, and they don't want us to go backwards. But so far for 4th of July, it looks like we'll have fireworks and hopefully some fun, but I'll be here, so less fun, but there will be fireworks.
Hopefully some fun. You know what? Normal sounds fun at this point, Christina.
It really does. I'm just happy to be here and healthy and not be wearing a mask.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, Christina Ruffini at the White House, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to see you.
Nice to see you. Happy Friday.